Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. I am your host, Rico Muhammad. That handsome fellow next to me, that's my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. And tonight we have our resident insurance expert. I'm gonna call him our resident insurance guru, Mr. Tommy
Yes.
Ruke. Mr. Tommy Ruke is joining us this evening. So if you ladies and gentlemen would do us a huge favor, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the show. It helps us out tremendously, gets us into a broader algorithm. And if you find anything that we talk about tonight entertaining or informative, please give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it helps us out tremendously. And with that being said, good evening, Chuck. How are you?
We're doing great, Rico. How are you doing, buddy?
We are hanging in there. It has been an interesting week, to say the least, but we are hanging in there like a hair on a biscuit, as they say now.
Well, every week in trucking is interesting. This week, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing this is a tape version of the show because as this is being played, I'll be in Nashville, Tennessee at a conference.
I might bump into you, Chuck.
Well, give me a call. We can meet for dinner.
Hope
When are
you
you
don't bump into him.
What day are you supposed to be in Nashville?
We're going to be there late Monday night, and we're leaving on Thursday during the day.
Oh, yeah, I might be able to catch up with you.
Okay, that'd be fun.
With that being said, Tommy, how have you been? It's been a little while.
I'm doing well, thank you, sir. Things are going well. I've moved to Orlando and kind of stepped away. The foundation that I ran is now doing everything virtual, and so I'm still doing some stuff there, but gave up the management of it. So, like this week, I've been in 5 athletic events for my grandson, 4 baseball games, and 1 flag football game. So I'm his personal Uber service.
You
now.
just living the dream.
But
living the dream.
Tommy,
Well,
I just have to ask you, does that at least entitle you to front row seats at these events?
I bring my own chair, Chuck. Yes, that part of it, I know that part of it, but that's why I moved here, and I enjoy that. Scary part about it is his sister turned 16 last Monday and got a car. That scares the heck out of me.
Yeah, well, you know what? If she learns how to drive properly, better she be the driver than somebody else.
Well, we told her to put the phone down. I actually did a session with Ellen Verrier that played this morning, Sunday morning and Saturday morning at 7 a.m. about distracted driving. That's a real problem here in our industry, and can be a problem in the trucking industry. I don't know if we want to talk about that, what we want to go with, but that's something that we're real cognizant of in the trucking business about this distracted driving, particularly with the phone usage.
Well, I wanted to ask you before we got too far going, because it's still kind of a hot topic. I don't know if you got a chance to see the 60 Minutes piece. Did you have any comments concerning that that you wanted to get out?
Well, first off, I know a couple of people on it who did it, and that's what's happening. And this, it's just ridiculous that these people can get away with this, and the government's doing something to stop it. They got a new registration for new DOT numbers, and Keith Riddle and I are friends. I communicate with him a couple things. My push is to get rid of the MC numbers. We can talk about that too. And he's promised me that's going to be done this year, sometime before the year's out. But they only did new ventures. But now you know that you got this Modus log that you'll have to log into, and then with this new Modus platform, when you update your information on the 150, everybody's going to update information. They're going to verify that you're a U.S. citizen, you have a fixed address, and you have a document showing that, a driver's license. They hired the people who screen people at the airport to screen people who get an authority or who have authority. So I think that's going to help some of this, Rico.
So question about that piece right there on the Modus piece, on the updating. Say, for instance, someone just updated the MCS 150 last month. They're technically not due for another, 2 years?
Right. Well, it depends on why they updated it, but yeah, 2 years, right.
Do they have to go back in now and recertify immediately once this rolls out, or how does that?
The last I heard, the notice has not rolled out to truckers yet. So I don't know how they're going to update, make everybody update right now, or this update on the regular time. Rico, I don't know that answer, but Kenneth is going to be at the Broker Carrier Summit that I'm going to be at in 10 days, and I'll ask him that question to get back with you.
I have
Okay.
another question along that line. So a trucker starts a company, he fills out the forms, and then he sells his company a month later to somebody that's not an American. Is there anything that is captured there that we find out that the new owner is not an American?
Chuck, the thing that has to be done now, when you talk about selling a company, they got to sell their assets, meaning you got to buy the stock in the company.
Right.
You can't buy, like before, just buy the DOT number. You got to buy everything, and you can't buy the MC numbers anyway. We can talk about that too. So, and they're supposed to verify the ownership when something happens like this to complete the sale.
Okay.
So when they change the address, to do what you said, they'd have to keep everything in place that's
Okay.
in place right now before the government would know that happened.
But I'm just going to throw something out there. If somebody had a truck and an old MC number, and then transferred over, got the new DOT number, he had one truck, and then somebody that was domiciled in, let's say, Turkey or Israel, you name it, Russia, he wanted to buy it, and he bought it, and then all of a sudden made it into a 50 truck operation. Would the government know, do you think?
Well, again, the MC number is going away. This is what's being policed. And there's the memo that came out of MCSA that you cannot sell your MC number or DOT number without notifying the government. I don't know how they're going to police that yet, Chuck, or not, but this is what they're saying. So if what you just pointed out would be caught when they have an inspection or something like that, because they're tracking even they've hired a couple people to help them track the people who are using these trucks and changing DOT numbers on the side and things like that. And that's this GenLog that is now the new wave. Now they just raised $45 million. In addition to that, there are people who used to come out of security out of Washington, and they've got cameras along the roadways, and they're checking the vehicles going by, the VIN numbers and the tag numbers.
The VIN number and the tag number.
Tag number, and even the logo on the side to see if it's fraudulent. And now they're giving that information to the government and other people, insurance company. I hooked them up with a assigned risk program in the program in the U.S. Whether your audience knows or not, but there's two compulsory insurance: work comp and auto liability. Right. And the state has to provide a means, no matter how bad you are, to get insurance. And the companies I'm doing with, ABSLO, ABSO, they are the ones that oversee 48 of the states. And they were told they had to write any auto, and they didn't audit, they didn't understand this kind of stuff. But they have now changed their whole method, and it's going to be specified auto, and they're going to audit higher auto, and they hired GenLog to verify how many trucks are under that DOT number operating in the U.S. And so if those vehicles are not on the policy, then the agent's going to get a call, the insurance going to get a call, and the policy will get canceled. So this is how they're policing that part of it. And most insurance companies are buying into that too. Oh, yeah. So your case here, Chuck, they would know, say, if they take UK, Rico, right. You buy Rico's business, and now you use one of your units under that new business. They're going to know and notify that your unit was operated under your DOT number too. And this is what they're going to find out.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think this is great. So this means that they're going to get rid of that whole thing going on right now of ghost fleets, where these guys are insuring half their fleets. That's going to go out the window. Thank God.
That's the purpose, and they're the ones who have done it. That's assigned risk programs, or the last resort, or whatever. Some states on the reinsurance facility, they have various names. But yeah, that's exactly what's happening now, where they're hiding the vehicles. But the insurance companies have become more aware of this too, and they're trying to do everything they can to police that also. And the Jen Law did a part of a series of did a session of my program. They were a vendor at our program at my conference last week, and I've met with them twice now. Set them up a year ago when they were the first with the Sign Risk program, and that's going to help. Everything like this help. Now, the problem you got, Chuck, is the people who are doing the fraudulent operation. Guess what? They got nothing to do but thinking how to do it.
Right.
We have to worry a company. I have to take care of my grandkids. But what I'm saying is, it's just so rampant how they can do some of this stuff, Chuck. I don't know. It's just amazing. And I blame all this technology stuff on it, trying to circumvent it. But it's really causing a problem in the whole industry because the undercutting rates, stealing loads, those things are I have not seen as much of this kind of stuff in my life than I have in the last year and a half, 2 years, Chuck. I think you say the same. And Rico, you agree with it, you do not?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. We made this point. We made this point last week, Tommy. With all of the explosion of people coming into the industry, and especially people from not to discriminate against anybody, but the overseas, all of the whole bunch of overseas foreigners that have come in and gotten into the industry, they have kind of brought in their black market, and they have found the chinks in our armor, and they have exposed a lot of the kinks within the industry, and that's where a lot of this stuff is taking place at.
I deal with a guy named Dale Prax. He has done a lot. He's hooked up with Truck Stop now,
right.
But he's my guru in this part of it that kind of looked at fraud, and he's dealing with the government now, and he's got a meeting May 11th in Washington to go over some of this stuff with the government itself. And he told me what they're doing is, Chuck, they're buying an MC number. And what they're looking at, because it's shown as licensed insurance, when the MC number expires, about 60 days out, they call them up and say, are you going to stay in business? And I'm willing to give you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for your MC number.
Right.
But you have to keep your insurance in place until I can move it over and take care of it. But what they do is they never do that. They just run 5 or 6, 10 loads, steal those things, and then dump everything. This is what they're doing. Because my question was to him and the government is the MC number has to be tied to a DOT number. Right. And therefore, the insurance industry bases their premium on the DOT number in the SMS reports. So how can they take this MC number that's in somebody else's name and history and tie it to DOT number? And they're all saying they're not doing that. They're just borrowing it for a month, 2 months, and run a half a dozen loads and then just dump it.
So when that happens, what takes place with the insurer? I mean, does the insurance left on the hook for that, or are they denying the claim?
Well, they're denying the claim. No, they're not on the hook for that at all, particularly for the cargo part of it.
So then it will revert back to the actual previous owner?
No, there's no liability in that for theft on that stuff, Rico, because he sold it. So the guy the person is going to be in Russia, as Chuck said, or somewhere like that. And this is what they're trying to stop that. But there's no reason for it. The only thing that Chuck, I know Chuck knows, Rico, you have an MC number, right?
Correct.
Sure.
What does it show that anybody's interested in?
Say that again.
What does it show that anybody's interested in?
I'm not sure.
Your history, nothing else.
Oh,
Has no meaning. Your history, and the only time you steal it, you steal somebody's history. It doesn't show anything about your safety. It doesn't show anything how well you operate. It doesn't even show the number of units and those kind of things. And the MC number, all that's in MC. The MC numbers were supposed to go away in 1994. I've taught it since 1994. In fact, we redid the motor carriers coverage form because it was going away. And when they got rid of the Interstate Commerce Commission, which focused on commerce, and they got authority to haul particular items over certain routes at certain prices. And so my father, as Chuck knows, got a permission for whole food goods, which were pickles, out of Millsboro, Delaware, to the southeast at the rate for Vlasic Foods. If he wanted to haul glass goods back to Vlasic, he would have to go get another MC number to haul that other commodity. This is why they could sell them, because they had value. It cost my father $100,000 to get his, because then you were buying a customer and a route and a guaranteed price. And that all went away in 1980, and then the ICC quit doing that. And the big shift from ICC, which was focused on commerce, now it's FMCSA, which everything's focused on safety, which they've done a poor job. But now you can get your authority, as you know, Rico, for $400 to call general commodities over irregular routes at whatever price you can get your customer to pay.
Right.
Yeah, it's, you know what, and I'm glad they deregulated, but they went from one extreme to the other.
Right.
If you remember, back in the day, it was so regulated, and then they just dropped all the guards down. It became the Wild West, which was okay for a number of years, and then these people overseas got her tail of it. And trucking was always a business. It was always an industry based on trust. And these people look as trust as a weakness.
Right. Chuck, let me, if you want a history, and I know we won't talk about other things in history, let me only emphasize something else there. When the ICC, the MC numbers went away and they opened up the competition.
Right.
That's when things got worse. Overseas wasn't involved yet in that. Okay. The people just got their authority, and now they were negotiating rates, and they weren't guaranteeing any rates. And so that's when the safety went down. And that's why 10 years later, they had to focus now on safety, because of all this competition that you talked about, where nobody screened going in. The overseas operation only went, I believe, you tell me, Chuck, the last 5-6 years with all the technology and the internet and AI and all that. They didn't do that until about 5 or 6 years ago. But now they've jumped on that and become, it's white collar. Nobody cares. It's white collar. How are they ever going to prosecute any of those people?
Yeah, they don't. And these guys are over in other countries, and they're the ringleaders, and they're causing havoc in our markets.
Now, some of this, this dispatch and all that, one of the things they're saying that you cannot use foreign dispatchers. You have to be in U.S. doing dispatching. But how many companies now have outsourced their public or their comments? You call anybody now, and you're dealing with someone in India or somewhere else. So that's the mechanics. That's the clerical stuff.
I probably get 4 or 5 phone calls every single day from someone trying to get me to sign up for their dispatch service.
Right. And that's what my only thought is, Chuck, is that people who are getting fraud or getting things stolen from them, to me, are the ones who have not been in who they're doing business with. And we're going to have to start back and doing that. So the broker knows who the trucker is. The trucker knows who the broker is. And Rico, you know more about this than I do. Load boards don't tell you that.
Absolutely not. And I think that's going to be, the load boards are going to have to start as part of their business model. They already require you to have a DOT number or MC number in order to get access, but they're going to have to put some other checks and balances in place as well. Not only on for the carrier, but also for the broker. There's going to have to be there's going to have to be another level of security or something that is put there to kind of help mitigate some of this stuff as well.
Yeah, they've got to take some responsibility because they're the conduit.
And if they don't, then they will be supplanted. I noticed that Highway has started it's not really a load board per se. They allow brokers and carriers. It's what they call an interchange or whatever. But it eliminates the multiple posting of loads that you see going on load boards, or a load that's posted in 150 miles away because they're trying to get some traction on it. I think highway has put some other things in place to kind of eliminate that, and it's you're starting to see, at least from my anecdotal experience, you're starting to see a little bit of a better quality freight on highway than you are seeing on the different load boards.
Well, the shippers are going to have to realize that too, and they're losing loads, and 80% of this stuff, Rico, they don't recover this. The broker doesn't have it because the broker's not legitimate.
I'm hearing that shippers are now telling them some brokers don't post their loads to any boards.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to keep knowing what's there. I mean, and this dispatch services versus being a broker, where the dispatch services do not have to have a bond, which is worse than this, and don't even get registered with the federal government. You know, the government tried to define that, 3-4 years ago, and did a very poor job distinguishing between the two. And because the dispatch person technically is supposed to have a contract with the motor carrier to represent them to the industry. Well, how can a dispatch service have the tons of motor carriers they're, quote, dispatching?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I would not leave. I would just not leave my business in the hands of someone else. And then for me, it's a crazy proposition as a business owner. Why would you put another layer between you and your customer, whether that be a broker or whether that be a shipper? You have now added another layer to where you don't have relationships. You're not building relationships with people. You are dealing with someone else has the relationship and not you as the business owner. And that to me, that just hamstrings your business completely.
Well, technically a dispatch service, you give as a trucker them authority to book loads for you.
Power of attorney, right.
And so that's the big, and then as you pointed out, how many of those loads are getting off of load board? So now you got 3 or 4 people getting their 5-10% out, 15% out. So what's the trucker going to be left?
How many percentage points left after you pay for your fuel, your insurance? Come on, Rico, we all know that.
Fuel, insurance, you're already getting a cut. If you're dealing with brokered freight, you're getting and then if you got factoring, all of that stuff, it's like you're walking down the hallway and people are just picking at your pockets.
Rico, a dozen eggs only has 12. That's it. Once you give away the 12th egg, you don't have any eggs left, man.
So it's definitely a crazy, in my mind, it just never made sense to where I would train someone close to me, a family member or a friend or somebody, and I would pay them versus going out and hiring somebody that I don't know from a can of paint and entrusting them with
what you say. Like you'd hire you a sales rep,
right?
Basically,
yes. That makes sense in that part of it here. But Chuck and Rico, you want to just talk a little about the insurance industry?
Yes.
And you know, they've still been losing money, cargo particularly, but also liability with these billboard attorneys. There's been some state reforms that have helped. The one in Florida has helped because now people are going to write in Florida. We haven't seen everything successful in court yet, but they will. But
well, Tommy, just to interrupt you just for a second, all this stuff, and we talked about this a little bit as well. All this stuff kind of ties in hand to hand. When we talked about, you know, especially on the 60 Minutes piece, they talked about the driver was talking about how the dispatchers would just reset his clock whenever he was driving, and it comes to a point where, you know, the driver is going to have some responsibility. He's got to know that, okay, I can't be driving illegally like this, but at the same time, all of this thing is kind of like connect the dots, and it's all tied in together. So if we solve the major problem, I think we'll solve a multitude of problems.
Right. Now, by the way, 60 Minutes doing another session this Sunday.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, next Sunday. I mean, this Sunday.
I don't think they're done with them by a long shot. And Super Ego is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean,
well, Super Ego, actually, if you look them up, they say they're a dispatch service or load board. I mean,
Well, they're getting ready to change their name.
oh, oh, of
They
course.
already changed it. They've already changed some of their names. It's Blue Sky, I think it is now that they're going by something like that.
Well, they may be in for a little surprise because you can't just operate under a company and then change your name the next day, especially when there's some debt or litigation. It's called the Bulk Sales Act, and they may be in for a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, and now
they've already been doing it, Chuck. If you go on social media, they've already some of the stuff that they used to advertise, the trailers and stuff that they used to advertise under Super Ego, now it's being advertised under Blue Sky or Big Sky or some kind of sky. It's the same. They have the same color in their logo. The same. It's the blue and white. It's the same color scheme, but they switched it up.
You know, the tragic part of that article is how the driver is getting beat up, and
yes,
the predatory leasing, and the rates being cut, and people getting a commission for cheating the driver out of what they're due.
Just robbing them, just outright robbery. It's right. Outright robbery without a gun.
Right.
You know, it's robbery all over. Like even the stuff they're doing with resetting drivers' hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
right.
We talked about that when e-logs first came out. A group of us said it's only a matter of time. This system is no different than paper logs. If people are going to be devious, they're going to be devious, and they're going to figure a way how to change those hours of service on the e-logs, and they have.
Right. Yeah.
The thing that I don't understand, it baffles me a little bit. I don't know why people want to work that hard and not get properly compensated for it.
You mean the driver? That's the only one, and this is going full circle. It's the drivers who might not be here legally. A lot of it is.
You're right, Tom. And the other thing is the driver may not be properly qualified, and he can't do the job. Walmart pays $100,000 a year or something for drivers to start, like for a trained driver. If you're a good driver, that's where you would go. If you were a bad driver and you didn't really know how to drive, but you had a commercial license, then you could go to a company like Super Ego and get your miles and hopefully get some experience, and hopefully you don't kill yourself.
Or somebody else.
Yes, well, yes.
Well, that's the tragic part.
Yeah, people are dying.
So I don't. So it would be interesting to see if this the Lila's law actually get passed. You got any comments on that, Tommy?
Oh, I've read that, and actually I know somebody who started that. A guy named Philip that I did some work with on the Lila law. And things that bother me about it right this minute is there's 3 or 4 versions of it under the one title, right. And so how far they're going to go? Are they going to go far enough or go too far? Because there's ways to go too far too, Rico, in this. But to pay attention to it's very, very important. And to get rid of the non-domiciled CDLs but mainly what is it, to me, the biggest problem in that is twofold. The 5-day, 2-day, 4-hour, 48-hour CDL schools.
Right.
Who just take money, get them out instead of doing training, those things. And the non-domiciled CDLs, that's a state problem because, and I've seen no records of those people. They haven't talked about, do they have proficient English or not? They also didn't talk about how they got trained in this, but just because of they're saying that they have been here longer than what their visa allows them to. Now, I've done some stuff with the imported labor for agriculture, and I know the people that were coming in the agriculture area and the drivers there were trained because we insured them under the HVA AB2 agriculture. So it's just that it's just all coming around full circle on this thing, Rico, from the person on the immigration, the non-English proficient, the idea that they can't speak enough English to navigate the highways, And there's two accidents. The one that even before that was an accident out of California that happened, what, 7, 8 years ago, that burned up a bridge and all that stuff there. A driver out of Texas that could not speak English. And that company had even been cited on the roadside for, I mean, on inspection for non-English speaking driver. And they still hired him.
So how are underwriters of the insurance looking at non-domicile CDL drivers? Are they starting to make it so they're kind of a little bit uninsurable, or are they putting any kind of barriers to entry on that front as far as the insurance is concerned?
Very honestly, Rico, I don't think they're even aware of it until all this stuff happened.
Really?
Well, yeah, because what we do in the insurance industry is the insured hires the driver. We insure who hires the driver, not the driver itself. So if the motor carrier who we insure is hiring drivers like that, then we only look at who they are and the MVRs, and the drivers and the MVRs do not show that they have outlived their outwork or been here longer than what they're legally able to do. And the MVRs will have a clean record. The only problem is you don't get a full 3 years, but even those for fleets, they don't even look at but a sample of MVRs. And now there's a couple insurance companies, and this becomes really a problem, which has the companies who are writing the risks that are the marginal risks, the not good risk, they sometimes say the driver has to be listed in the policy to have coverage. Now, I don't know how much they dig in beyond what we do typically on that part, but that's rare. Most insurance companies allow the insured to hire whatever driver they want to, and we decide to insure them or not. So this is why we don't see all those things, Chuck. And Rico, only time we know about them if that particular driver got in an accident, and then that driver was not properly vetted, meaning not hired to the standard they told us to hire, then that's the only time the insurance company would be aware of that.
Right. Okay. So a company goes to the insurance company, same as always, and says our drivers have to have 5 years experience and clean driving records, and that's who we hire. And if you hire anybody that doesn't have that, you either better check with the insurance company or not hire them. That's how it normally has been working from my experience.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying they weren't even aware of even the non-English, the English proficiency language, the English language proficiency. They weren't even aware of this, other than if they saw an inspection where the drivers got cited for not speaking English. But again, we in the insurance industry rely on our insured because we can't get involved in hiring.
Right.
I've had a couple of cases where insurance companies have been liable for proving a driver, or actually I had a case where they were argued because they said they couldn't, and now this is crazy, but the insurance company said they wouldn't hire somebody 75 years old. And so they fired him, and then that person's lawyer went against the insurance company for discrimination.
Discrimination all day. Another question, Tommy, to change gears a little bit. Been a little bit of a hotbed topic, and it might have some folks coming after us with fire and pitchforks. The whole thing of insurance limits. Do you think that that's a reasonable ask to bump insurance limits for motor carriers now?
Absolutely not. Two things. Now, the rates have been the limit's been the same since, and people mistake this. It was January 1st, 1985. The 1980 motor carrier law put it in effect, but for the first 5 years, from 80 to 85, it was only 500,000. Then that's when it went to 750.
Right.
Part of it. And the reason they don't have enough evidence, and the moving ahead with progress in 21st century, the MAP Act requires this to be studied every 4 years. Now, and the ones that, Rico, this will make you happy. The bigger motor carriers want it to be raised.
Right.
There's a lot of people beating that drum.
They're carried anyway. It's going to affect a smaller motor carrier.
Exactly.
This part of it, and so I think it's going to be, if they go beyond 1 million. Now, I think that would be a happy compromise. Most people have $1 million. That's a limit that most people are selecting now, and that would give a little win without going to the 5 million. But if they went to 5 million, you would lose about a third of the insurance carriers in the marketplace, and you're going
Wow.
to lose a major part of the marketplace. I mean, the insurers who can't afford it. They can't afford it now. Think about raising that limit, because what happens unless they tie it to tort reform, meaning, and they're not going to do it if they
Right.
don't make CSA scores presentable in court, if they require cameras, both front and rear cameras, if they did things, and if they made the four-wheelers have higher limits. Rico, how often does it happen where the truck gets run off the road and the four-wheelers at fault, and they don't have enough limits to pay for the truck, the tractor, much less the driver's death?
Right.
I mean, and there's more of that than actually trucking is the poster child, but really the four-wheelers leave these people totally unsatisfied, totally under repaired or for paying for the damage. And the only reason the government can do that is they say the only reason you're on the highway, trucker, is we give you permission to be there. Therefore, we want to make sure that the public's protected. You know, Chuck, a private motor carrier doesn't have that requirement.
Right.
Private motor carrier in Florida requires 300,000.
That's to
Unless
cover the farmers, correct? Really, that's where it comes from.
Well,
Private operator.
no, well, private has never been regulated, Chuck.
Right.
The farming operation were exempt from having a filing, but there's since 1985 they were subject to the 750. They
Right.
just didn't. There's not a mechanism to enforce it. The only time a private carrier has to have more than the state limits in Florida, that's 300,000. Texas, that's 500,000. Now,
Right.
New Jersey is 1.5 million, so that's a whole different world.
Well,
The only reason that they can that if they're hauling anything hazardous across
okay.
state lines,
Yeah.
then they have
Okay.
to have 1 million. But again, that's not police. One of the things that will happen if the MC number goes away, because when your truck stopped today, the only thing the officer looks at is your ID card that's given to you by your insurance company in your truck. They don't check the limits at the public limits, because that's a different company. That's out of BOPE, because that's a different registration. All they look at is things under the DOT
Right.
number. They don't look at insurance. If you get rid of DOT number, IMC number, and everybody's DOT number, then maybe supposedly a part of that is the roadside inspectors now will be checking to make sure they have the proper filings, the proper limits on file, which will help that. But the private carriers, 300,000 is all you got to have in Florida.
Wow, that's ridiculous. That's just not enough. I can't imagine anybody. I have more than that on my automobile.
Well, I totally agree that the only ones who are running on the marginal or not, but that's the example I made on this, Rico. I think it's going to be talked about. I don't think it's going to happen in the next 2 years. I think it's going to be, I mean, the idea to come into 5 million, I have worried about, because New Jersey went to the 1.5 million. That would give the Washington a benchmark to maybe go to. You follow what I'm saying? Just because some state did it, but that's up to debate on how that's precluded. If you read the safety lube law correctly, is that would only pertain to intrastate hauling only.
Right. Second, you cross state lines.
Interstate hauling still would not be subject to the 1.5 million in Florida. I mean, New Jersey.
Right.
The only way that it could possibly be is if the portion tag was purchased in New Jersey, then you would have to have the 1.5 million from the portion tag. But even New Jersey domiciled interstate carriers are not subject to that. The 1907 safety lube law says that the states do not have rights to set the limits beyond the federal limits for interstate commerce. That gets back to a lot of the stuff now. That's part and parcel of what's being argued now in the Supreme Court, the Montgomery case about the F4A exemptions for brokers. Again, all that comes along to that same kind of theory.
You have any? You since you brought it up, We might get ready to make Chuck mad, but
Go ahead.
you got any opinions on that Montgomery case there, Tommy?
Well, my concern about it, in every ruling that this Supreme Court has made, that now that Trump's appointed everybody, has yielded to the state rights from abortion to everything else. Well, what we're arguing here in the Montgomery case is the state has a safety, and the state, under state law, they're liable for negligent selection, dangerous entrustment, and those kind of things. So that's a state law. So what F4A says is that states cannot impose a law that affects rates and rules of a interstate operation. So that's a little marginal here. With all this deal, who's liable for what? Even talking about the broker being liable or even the shipper being liable. If that happens, that's going to open up a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's almost a bridge. I mean, going too far on that one, Rico. But I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with some kind of halfway deal or something on.
I think that there has to be some kind of I think, me personally, my opinion is I think that there needs to be some type of accountability that can travel upstream for certain circumstances. I think that there needs to be a certain criteria or certain things in place, but I think that there are definitely some instances where there should be some more accountability that comes into play other than just the motor carrier.
Rico, this is where I said some hybrid. Hopefully, if they come back, and I don't disagree with you, but they got to put the standards, and the standards could not be any more than what public information is, and that's the CSA scores, the accident crashes that are published by the FMCSA, because you can't let a broker get involved in the motor carrier's hiring. You can't get a broker being involved in the maintenance of the motor carrier. I'm talking about physical go checking, those kind of things. Shippers actually see the truck more often than the broker does to find out if it's falling apart, if it's held up with duct tape, or if it's really maintained. So this is going to be here. So if they
what I mean by that, Tommy, is like me personally, I had a case where I was negotiating on a load with a broker, and I told him, I said, hey, this load you need a team for this load. I can't do this load. And the broker replied back to me. He said, oh, sure, a strong solo can do the load.
Yeah.
hinting at the going kind of I don't know how familiar you are with the going meme that's going around in a lot of different circles of the strong solo Sergey, which ties back to super ego with the drivers that run unlimited, that don't have a limit on their clock.
Well, right. Years ago, it used to be a bag of pills. That was a strong.
Oh, I've seen one of my in Clinton Market when I was loading the trucks back in the '60s, because that's what I did for the summer. I had a franchise to load the trucks on the Clinton auction market, and so I loaded a couple of them. But I had a few people help him there, and the driver says, he knows he's sleepy when the pills start bouncing off the hood when he sees them down the highway, and that's the way. I'll never forget what he said that. But those kind of things, Chuck, Rico, would have to be where they would be liable to. And actually, there's a law now. If they want to go against that motor carrier who did that or the broker did that, there's a part of the EDL operation was the harassment of a trucker making them do that. So actually, there's federal law now saying that a broker or trucker cannot force them to do those things.
The thing about that, Tommy, is that I understand that there may be stuff in place, laws, but it's kind of like a paper tiger.
Right. Do you want your job?
Yeah, it's not. You know what? We cannot have that law. Can't go through until we have. We can look as brokers and as shippers and look at somebody's actual up-to-date audit reports, so we know who we're dealing with.
Right. And that's getting back to the safety fitness determination, where 91% of the motor carriers, Rico, you know how many motor carriers have a percentage of people with MC numbers? Because that's the only one that went, because that leaves the private fleets out. I know it's got some exempt haulers in there. MC number. What percentage of MC numbers are rated satisfactory?
I think it's less than 5% or something like that.
Right. That's going to say less than 5%. So they have no meaning. That has no meaning at all from that realization.
It's a great piece of history, gentlemen.
And the ones they are was satisfactory 5, 6, 8 years ago. So what's that? And part of this is that, and I don't disagree with what they're doing. They're doing far less compliance review, more focused reviews. So they're looking at what they see this problem on the roadside, logs, maintenance, and they go look at that and don't look at everything and spend 2 weeks there for a trucker. They just look at where they're having the, seem to have the problem. For their insurance people and the change in the insurance industry, Rico and Chuck, because I see we're, in time.
Yes, sir.
You've got to start thinking a trucker that they're going to have to start sharing the ELD information with the motor carrier, the insurance company. And they're going to have to start thinking about cameras front and rear. This is where the move is. Insurance companies know that that's the best way to not only monitor the driver, but defend the driver in court. And ELD information will see how well they're operating and driving. And there are a few companies out there who give parameters and actually give a reward or a dividend to the motor carrier if they drive within certain standards. I'm talking about driving on this standard.
Right.
What I teach on this, Rico, is instead of being reactive means I can't look at, but I look at your MVR, I look at your loss records, I look at CSA scores. To proactive, I now can go and see what you're doing on a daily basis and make my decision about are you operating right or not in those areas, and fix my premium and or my relationship with you based on how well you and all your drivers are driving, because now I can see that data.
And the motor carrier has an opportunity to get better, because
right. And then hopefully the motor carrier starts paying attention to that, since the insurance company's paying attention to that. That's where it falls down, Chuck. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell me, we're looking at the time, we pushing up against it. Is there anything you want to say, anything you'd like to share with us before we get out of here that we hadn't had a chance to discuss yet?
Well, again, that's where they don't have to be starting to be cognizant of that part of it. And again, this thing that I've talked about, everything, beware of your cargo carrier. Make sure that you've got the coverage to cover the commodities that you are hauling with the right limits, because this is also a way that they're going to have a problem when a cargo claims and you don't have enough dollars to pay for that claim. And if they're hauling anything at all that's subject to theft, you need to look at your policy, particularly renewal policy, because now there's more requirements to have an attended vehicle warranty on it, where somebody has to watch it all the time, different requirements for locked vehicles and those kind of things. So we're reacting to all this publicity about cargo theft. And also, if you're hiring any drivers who cannot speak sufficient English, then that's also going to add 3 or 4 zeros on the any kind of settlement. Insurance companies are well aware of that too. What worries about me, and I've actually said this, Chuck, I didn't realize I have a Southern drawl. Maybe somewhere in New England and maybe Canada, that I would not be able to be understood. So maybe how's that going to stand? I had a college professor say it was somebody with so much to say they should have a better way of saying it. That was my written language, not my spoken language. That I am phonetically impaired, so I can't. My family can't believe that people pay me to talk when I can't talk.
Good job, Tommy.
Whatever that. But I appreciate guys having this. By the way, Chuck, I got the fraud expert Dale Prax that I could arrange for him to be a part of your program if you.
Well, I'd love that. You know what? I'd love to have both you guys on at the same time. And Tommy, we've been cutting it down to 30, 35 minutes, and having you on tonight, we haven't had you on a long time. We got to have you on again soon, because there's too much going on.
As long as my grandson doesn't have a baseball game, I don't have anything to do that evening. So
Well, from
let
the
me know.
sounds of it, the kid's going to be playing for the Yankees or the Dodgers soon. So,
Well, he's not mature yet enough. Although his voice is changing, there's hope. You know what 13s are. I knew
yeah.
we were in trouble that day when we were playing a guy, and the first batter had a mustache. And my grandson hadn't gone through puberty yet because of the difference at a 13-year-old maturity level.
Well, that they all catch up.
But then I do have a grandson, 6'8", so sooner or later he's going to get there.
He'll be in the basketball.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Tommy.
God bless and safe trading and safe
Thank you
travel.
so much. God bless, Tommy.
Yes, sir. All right, Chuck, well, you want to let the folks know how they can find you? You're going to be in Nashville next week, but
Yeah, send me an email, chucksnow280@outlook.com, and put your phone number on it, and I'll help you any way I can. And with that, Rico, I'll let you back her in a hole for another week.
well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to appreciate you. Thank you guys for taking the time out to hang out with us for a little while. Could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took some time to hang out with us. We're always grateful for you doing so. Like I said at the beginning, please tell a friend to tell a friend about the show. Please like, share, and subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing. And in the meantime, and in between time, we want you guys to continue to stay safe, stay healthy, keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise. God bless you and good night.
Catch on a flip-flop. God bless. Thanks again, Tom.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, guys.